In 1943, a fishwife in Newlyn, Cornwall, fed 17 people on scraps most families threw away. No refrigerator, no grocery store, no safety net. Just knowledge so deep it lived in her hands. These 25 skills built entire coastal communities for centuries. Most vanished in a single generation, and at least 3 could cut your grocery bill in half starting this week. Number 25, gutting and cleaning fish in under 2 minutes. Every Cornish fishwife could take a mackerel from whole to table ready in 90 seconds. Taught to daughters at age 6 on wooden boxes at the bench. 1 cut behind the gills, 1 draw along the belly, 2 fingers to clear the cavity, a rinse and done. Modern fish comes pre-filleted, and the consequence is a generation that has lost all confidence around whole fish, which is tragic because whole fish costs half the price at any fishmonger, and the bones are where the flavor lives. Number 24. Making fish stock from bones and heads. What the fishwife threw into that pot would make a modern chef weep. Heads, backbones, prawn shells, mussel liquor, bay, parsley stalks, covered with cold water, brought up slowly, never boiled hard, strained after 40 minutes. French chefs gave this stock a separate name and charged accordingly. In Cornwall, it was simply what you made Monday with Friday's leftovers. The cost is essentially zero. You are using what would otherwise be binned. Number 23, salting fish for preservation. Before refrigeration, there was salt. Fishwives packed pilchards into your barrels by the tens of thousands, layering coarse sea salt with a precision that determined whether a family ate in January. A pilchard salted in autumn was still good the following spring. Families exported barrels to Italy and Spain, where salted Cornish pilchards were a delicacy, not a hardship food. Today, burying a salmon fillet in salt and sugar for 48 hours produces gravlax. The skill takes 10 minutes to learn. Number 22, smoking fish over driftwood. The coast never lacked driftwood, and every village had a smokehouse. Fish hung over slow, cool smoke and emerged transformed. Haddock became golden and firm. Mackerel took a sweetness from oak smoke that made it almost unrecognizable. Modern cooks treat smoking as advanced work requiring specialist equipment. The fishwives did it with a barrel, some wire, and whatever wood was on the beach. The knowledge was never complicated. It was simply allowed to disappear. Number 21. Making stargazy pie. The most famous Cornish dish almost nobody outside Cornwall has eaten. Pilchard heads poke through the crust, eyes skyward. It sounds theatrical. It was genius. Baking the whole fish with heads protruding, let the oils from the head drain back into the filling instead of escaping. The result needed nothing else on the plate. It is a lesson in using every part of what you have, including the parts that look inconvenient. Number 20, rendering fish oil from the catch. The product this produces now sells in amber bottles at health food shops for £12. Omega-3 oils, rendered from pilchards, were a staple for centuries. The fish were cooked down at low heat until the fat separated and could be skimmed and stored. Modern supplements are extracted industrially at considerable cost. The chemistry is identical to what a fishwife did in a cast iron pot in 1780. The knowledge was not lost because it became obsolete. It was lost because it became inconvenient. Number 19. Making saffron cake. Cornwall is the only English region with a culinary tradition built around saffron, which arrived via Mediterranean trade routes centuries before anyone wrote it down. The fishwife steeped those crimson threads in warm water until the liquid turned the color of a setting sun, then folded it through enriched dough. Saffron cake was made for feast days and the return of the fleet. Modern cooks who add saffron dry throw away most of what they paid for. Blooming it in warm liquid first releases everything. Number 18. Stretching a small catch with root vegetables. The fishwife planned around what came off the boats, and when the catch was thin, around what was in the root cellar. A few pilchards in a large pot of swede, turnip and potato, thickened with pearl barley and seasoned aggressively. Fed 8 without anyone leaving hungry. The fish gave protein, the roots gave bulk, the barley gave body. This is whole meal architecture that produces more interesting food than simply cooking fish with vegetables alongside. Number 17. Drying herbs from the cliff top. The coast is salt-sprayed and wind-battered, but it grows extraordinary wild herbs. Sea purslane, rock samphire, wild thyme, sea beet. Fishwives knew where each grew, and they dried them quickly in the wind before mold set in. Dried herbs, flavored stocks, and stretched expensive spices by adding complexity without cost. Homemade dried herbs are more potent than anything in a supermarket rack, and the cost per use approaches zero. Number 16. Making lava bread from seaweed. Lava grows on rocks along the Atlantic coast, washed through many changes of water and boiled for hours into a dark, intensely savory paste. It was foundational in coastal kitchens. Rich in iron, iodine, and protein, it was fried in bacon fat with oatmeal. Seaweed is currently being discovered by the health food industry at enormous expense. Your fishwife gathered the same ingredient at low tide and fed her family for nothing. Pattern break. Here is what all these skills share. They were not traditions kept for charm. They were economic strategies developed by women with no margin for error. A fishwife who let food spoil had hungry children. One who mastered preservation and flavor extraction fed her family on almost nothing, and fed them well. The next skills are where that knowledge became something approaching genius. Number 15. Potting fish in clarified butter. Cooked crab or smoked mackerel packed tight and sealed under butter kept for weeks without refrigeration. The seal excluded air, and the absence of air prevented spoilage. Potted crab could be carried on boats and served to visitors without preparation. Potted shrimp today is an expensive delicatessen luxury. The method takes 20 minutes. The barrier is only that nobody told you it was allowed. Number 14. Judging fish freshness by sight, smell, and touch. A fishwife who bought bad fish fed her family bad fish, eyes clear and convex, not sunken, gills bright red, not brown, flesh springs back when pressed, the smell is clean and saline. Ammonia means it is turning. These skills apply perfectly at any fish counter today, letting you buy whole fish from independent fishmongers at lower prices, knowing exactly what you are getting. Number 13. Making clotted cream from raw milk. Every household within range of a cow made it. Raw milk sat 12 hours so the cream could rise. Then a very low oven overnight gave it that golden crust. The difference between this and the sealed tub version is significant. The home version has a grassiness and richness reflecting what the cow ate. The commercial version is consistent, safe, and comparatively flavorless. Number 12. Baking pasties as portable meals. The Cornish pasty was designed to send men to work with a complete meal needing no plate or cutlery. The thick, crimped crust was a handle held by dirty hands and discarded. Raw meat, swede, and potato, layered in a specific order, cooked evenly inside the case. Some had jam at one end, so a man ate lunch from one end and dessert from the other. Every element solved a real problem. That is food design, more intelligent than a modern test kitchen produces. Number 11. Preserving mackerel in vinegar. Soused mackerel, covered in spiced pickling vinegar, is one of the oldest British preservation methods. The acid partially denatures the protein, similar to ceviche, and, with oven heat, keeps for a week in a cool larder. A good catch meant one afternoon sousing enough for the week, at near zero cost. Eaten cold, with brown bread and mustard, it is one of the great, underrated British lunches. It disappeared because nobody passed the recipe forward. Number 10. Making broth from shellfish shells. The most flavorful part of a shellfish is not the meat. It is the shell. Roasted until deep red and then simmered with aromatics, crab and prawn shells produce a bisque base, no stock cube ever approximated. If you are eating prawns, the shells are already there. The flavor payoff is enormous. And the cost is 20 minutes you would otherwise spend throwing packaging in the bin. Number 9. Making mussel and limpet bait. Not all of the catch was for eating. Some was for catching more. Fishwives prepared bait with the same care as food, knowing bait quality determined catch size. Mussels were shelled into forms that held on a hook in the current. Limpets were prized off rocks and used whole. The knowledge of what fish wanted was as valuable as the knowledge of what to do with them once caught. The two skills were inseparable. Number 8. Reading weather from sea and sky. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. This is not folklore, it is atmospheric observation, compressed into a rhyme for memorizing. Fishwives developed systematic knowledge of cloud formation, wind direction, and seabird behavior as indicators of incoming pressure change. They predicted weather with an accuracy that would surprise anyone assuming meteorology needed instruments. The instruments came later. The observation came first. Number 7. Teaching children to work the catch. Children were working members of the household from an early age. By 8, they sorted fish by size, cleaned crabs and threaded mussels, doing work that decided whether the family ate. A child who handles food, raw, and joins its preparation from catch to table, develops a relationship with food no classroom can replicate. The fishwife understood the kitchen was the most important school her children would attend. Number 6. Making pilchard oil soap. Pressed fish oil, too strong for cooking, made fine soap. Fishwives combined it with wood ash lye, an alkaline water leached through ash, which reacts with fat to produce soap and glycerine. The process took an afternoon, and the result lasted months. Nothing from the catch went unused, down to the oil, too rank to eat. Number 5. Mending nets by firelight. A fishwife who could mend a net kept her husband's boat earning. A torn net unmended was a day's catch lost. Women spent evenings with needles and twine, repairing damage that small holes would otherwise make catastrophic. The skill required patience and a mathematical grasp of net structure. Those same hands kneaded bread and turned the butter churn the same morning. The physical intelligence is almost incomprehensible from a desk. Number 4. Shifting work around weather, not a clock. Bad weather meant no fish coming in. And fishwives prepared for exactly that, treating calm days as production days and storms as forced preservation sessions. Jam made, bread baked, crocks filled, butter potted. Everything that could be done inside was done inside, when outside was impossible. The capacity to shift tasks according to conditions rather than follow a fixed schedule is a domestic intelligence modern productivity culture has abandoned. Number 3. Making fish day the best day of the week. This sounds sentimental. It is strategic. If the people around the table dreaded fish, the fishwife would fight human nature forever. So, she made fish day genuinely the best, with the most interesting recipes and the most effort. The result was communities where the cheapest, most abundant protein was also the most anticipated meal. If people want to eat what is affordable, you never fight the budget. Number 2. Knowing where nothing was waste. Bones for stock, heads for flavor, shells for broth, fat for soap, scraps for the garden. Every part of everything had a purpose. Modern households throw away an estimated 30% of food purchased. A fishwife operating with no margin wasted, almost nothing, not from virtue but because she could not afford to. And in learning not to waste, she built a food culture more sophisticated than most restaurants have produced since. Number 1, passing it all forward. The most important skill was never a technique, it was a decision. The fishwife, who stood her daughter on a box beside the sink, handed her a knife and said, "Watch," kept an entire body of knowledge alive for one more generation. Every skill here survived because one woman taught another. Every skill that vanished did so because that chain broke once, just once, and nobody noticed until it was gone. Your grandmother's kitchen was not primitive, It was precise. The question is not whether these skills still work. They work better now than they ever did. Pick one this week. Just one. Then come back and tell me what you made.